18th work session, Bedford Board of Education work session meeting. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Boynton,
Here.
Mrs. Birch,
Here.
Mrs. Macklin,
Here.
Mr. Lipper. Here.
Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much for coming out. I guess there was a bad accident, so one of our board members is on his way, and I'm sure other people are probably stuck in the traffic too. Welcome to Cleveland. On the agenda tonight, item number 2 is awards presentation and communication. 2.01, City of Bedford will present to us tonight on the TIL.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about 3 projects that we have in the city of Bedford that we're excited about. I will break them down briefly. The first project, for those of you that are familiar with Bedford, the former YMCA. Former YMCA sat vacant for quite a long time. The city, with the help of Cuyahoga County Land Bank, we were able to take ownership of that property a few years back. We held that looking for the best end use to really go along with some of the other development near the Meadowbrook area. And we had a business in Bedford that was actually, at the time, they were looking to at facilities outside, because there really wasn't a building that fit their need. They were a professional engineering firm. They were growing. Years ago they had just under 10 employees, but they were really looking to expand that. The gentleman by the name of Dave Berry has been a lifelong resident of Bedford. He actually was involved with the former mentorship program with the Bedford City Schools. So he's very committed to the community. We had shown him the building, and he really thought it could work. He thought outside the box. He looked at it, even the area where there was the old swimming pool. He figured that could be filled, the machine shop could be placed in there, and he came to the city with a proposal to purchase that property and put extensive investment to it. The city did sell the property to APEC Engineering. What they did immediately, there was some utility issues that had to be addressed ASAP. There was water line, there were sewers that were not connected. That work was done and the facility was secured, but now he's looking to make that substantial investment. The city of Bedford approved a 10-year tax abatement for that project, and thus we will be presenting that to the school board for future consideration. And we will share that information for the next meeting. Mr. Berry is looking to increase employment over 25 people, but I think the big thing is seeing that investment, being able to retain high-paying jobs, an engineering firm, to further develop the Meadowbrook Center as a win for Bedford, which was presented to City Council and ultimately approved. Sticking with that area and moving on to the next project is the vacant property that has been undeveloped for decades, and that is the land that is at the corner of Bartlett and Rockside, right on the border of Bedford Heights and Bedford. One of the things with the city of Bedford, and we always talk about, our largest employer collectively is the Bedford Auto Mile. Not only 1,700 employees, they make substantial investment as far as their properties, as well as investment to City of Bedford. Actually, I believe this morning they presented a previous donation to the Schools Foundation for scholarships. They're very involved and a staple here. We knew one of the dealerships, Honda, Very small dealership where it stands right now. They're on Broadway. Some years back, they worked to acquire the former Packatans building to try to expand. But if you compare that Honda dealership to other Honda dealerships, it is very undersized. They wanted to remain in Bedford. They started looking at the property at Rockside and Bartlett. Ultimately, they were able to make a deal, a $1 million purchase for the land to the former owner. And then they brought their proposal to the city of Bedford. Obviously, that land deal was contingent upon the city's response. But what they're proposing is over a $27 million investment to that corner. They're looking to build a brand new Honda dealership that is roughly 3 times the size of their current location. They're looking to add at a minimum 40 new jobs in addition to the other jobs that will be retained from the current site. City Council had acted and approved a tax abatement for up to 15 years for that project, and thus we are presenting that to the school board as project number 2. And we could provide further information and financials to the board through Dr. Johnson and Mr. Parkinson in the future if needed. The last project, probably the most confusing, but it's a very something we're very excited about, and that is Tinkers Creek Commerce Park. For those of you that don't know, that is the industrial park that was developed about close to 20 years ago across from Shawnee Golf Course. And as you've seen, there's Art of Beauty, which is a makeup manufacturer there now. Outside of that, there's been roughly 30 acres that has been vacant since it was developed. And there's that question, why? That property, the Cuyahoga County holds a loan of $3 million on that property. There's 30 acres, you do the math, that developer has to sell that acreage for $100,000 an acre to make something happen. The property's valued at $52,000 an acre. Thus, why it sat vacant for 15 years without development. We have had some staff members really get creative. I have to give credit to the county land bank as well as Cuyahoga County. We've collectively tried to put our heads together to try to figure out a way to facilitate a deal to where we can then see development, see buildings, possibly manufacturing, which obviously property tax that all of us would benefit from. Ultimately, we were able to come to terms with Cuyahoga County, the city of Bedford, and the current property owner on a deal that involves a TIF. And that deal is that property owner turned that land over to the city roughly a month ago. The city of Bedford now owns that land. Cuyahoga County is understanding we had 2 end users that had already signed a purchase agreement to purchase 5 acres to expand their current facility, which is Art of Beauty. They are out of space and they need to expand. And we've also identified Premier Development, which signed a purchase agreement to purchase the remaining 25 acres to develop and most likely put up some initial spec buildings to attract new companies to that industrial park. The city of Bedford agreed. Those transactions are at approximately the appraised value. Bedford is thus turning that money over to Cuyahoga County. Obviously, it doesn't fulfill that entire debt. So how is the county going to be made whole on that? And this is where the TIF agreement comes into play. The city of Bedford, the county land bank, Cuyahoga County agreed to enter into the TIF agreement. And we will be going, when I say we, the city of Bedford, we will forego our portion of the city's property tax to Cuyahoga County until they're made whole. There's one piece that we were adamant that would not happen. And that piece was that this is a non-school TIF. Bedford City Schools we're not asking the schools to forego anything. You will continue to receive your property tax. If buildings go up, you'll receive the property tax accordingly. It's only the city of Bedford that will be foregoing our portion of the property tax. In response to that, we did get 20% off of those sale of those two parcels. It's roughly $350,000 should those go through. But really the idea is we're not looking at the project today. We're looking at, I am confident, I shared this with City Council, if we didn't get creative and figure out a way to fix that, that project per se with the financials tied to it, we would probably all retire and there'd be 30 acres that are undeveloped. I mean, we're not gonna find someone to buy land twice the value and then make an investment to build buildings. So that's why we got creative. We knew from the city's standpoint that we were going to have to make some sort of sacrifice, and we presented that to City Council, but what we did state is, like ordinary TIF agreements, the schools are also involved in foregoing portions of property taxes. We did not want that to be the case. Now in the future, if a business would come and we have 500 jobs and we would like a tax abatement, we would then obviously come back and talk to the schools about that and talk about possible income tax sharing agreements. But as far as the TIF legislation, it's a non-school TIF. And what we're here to present and ask for, which would be have to be discussed at the next meeting, under the ORC, the school board, regardless if it's a school-involved TIF or a non-school TIF, the board is required to waive a 45-day and 14-day notice resolution. And basically what that allows, it allows the city to move forward with our legislation so those can move forward. And that's what this piece is. I hope I tried to explain that as best as I could without getting into the complicated calculations. I know we did present to Dr. Johnson as well as Mr. Parkinson, and we explained some of that in detail, and our finance director and assistant finance director shared the financials with them as far as what we can expect short term, and then obviously if buildings and our estimations, what that could result long term. And we could provide those to the board after or at another date if possible. So I don't want to take any more time up. I just appreciate the opportunity to talk about those three projects. We feel they're important to the city and obviously the schools. And we're available for any questions either tonight or afterwards, or at a later date.
Yes, Mr. Malice, thank you so much as well. I would just ask for, because Bill and I did, what we received was a draft. So I did inform the board that they would get the updated financial communications.
We could send that over. I could send that over first thing in the morning.
Thank you.
If that's okay. Great. Any other questions?
All right, thank you, Mr. Malice. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any questions for him? I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is item number 3, which is the superintendent's report. And I will turn it over to Dr. Johnson.
Good evening, Board President, Vice President, and Board members. Thank you for this opportunity. I do have 8 items here that will come before you. Before I do get started, I just would like to again thank our the Bedford Foundation. We had a wonderful breakfast this morning for those of you that were not able to attend. As Mr. Malice spoke a little bit about some of the partnerships, I just want to just really thank our foundation for all the work that they do to support our students. I think over $16,000 in scholarships was awarded today. So I also want to congratulate all of our awardees and all of the hard work that they've done as students. We have some amazing students. It was excellent to see the alumni come out and talk about all the wonderful things that they are doing to encourage our graduates. So I just want to, I hope it's okay that I first started out and thanked our foundation for that.
Thank you.
Under 3.01, you have next year's calendar as well as the following calendar. Per ORC, we have posted that with the minimum timeline for viewing. Under 3.02, Though you had approved the organizational chart, there were some things that we needed to work out, with the, BEA in regards to some wording and naming of some positions, so this is coming before you. Under 3.03, we need to make a clerical, correction in regards to the title. The ELL position is not a coordinator position, it's a facilitator position, which is a, less cost there. Once again, grant funded, but it is a facilitator position. Under 3.04, there's a reduction in force. Under 3.05, there are some personnel members here, and I'll go through those a little bit later. Under 3.06, some non-administrative appointees being recommended. Under 3.07, Ms. Willis came a couple of meetings ago and she presented to you some textbook recommendations for pre-calculus, AP, and Spanish 1, 2, and 3. And under 3.08, we have a recommendation based upon a request for the utilization of our stadium for 2 events.
All right, thank you, Dr. Johnson. So we'll go back to 3.01. Board, I would need a motion to approve the school calendars for 2022, 2023, and 2023, 2024. Could I have a motion, please? 3.01, could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Been moved by Mr. Akins, can I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Akins and second by Ms. Macklin. Do we have any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Birch?
Yes.
Mr. Ledford?
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton?
Yes, motion passed 5-0. Next item is item number 3.02. Is the creation of position and approval of the job description. I would need a motion, board, for approval of the creation of that position and the job description as presented. You could find those positions in Exhibit B1, which is the coordinator of the K-8 athletics. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Lippert and second by Mr. Akins. Are there any questions or discussion, board? Hearing none, could I have a roll call, please, Mr. Parkinson?
Mr. Ledford?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Mrs. Birch?
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton?
Yes, motion passed 5-0. Next on the agenda is item number 3.03, correction of a clerical error in the resolution and the job description title. It's a correction for a position that is titled in facilitator of ELL programming, and it's in Exhibit B-2, and for the job description of the facilitator of the ELL programming, which is Exhibit S5. Could I have a motion for both of those, board?
So moved.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
It has been moved by Ms. Macklin and second by Mr. Akins. Any questions or discussions about those corrections?
Just a question. It
One
seems
question?
like the file here is misnamed. Am I missing that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
That the actual file is not ELL facilitators, I'm looking at SEL facilitator. I mean, it may not be a very big point, but
Or
perhaps it is.
SEL facilitator?
Mhm.
Yes, it's,
And
they
the
did.
name of the file.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, when I click on the document,
It says facilitator of ELL on the document, but yes, you're correct. What I need to do, Bill,
Yeah.
to make that
They called
correction?
it, yeah, they saved it the wrong thing. We can just say, amend of the title of exhibit, we amended the title of that, amendment of the
Okay.
title of
File.
the file.
It's S5, correct.
Yes,
That's fine.
all right, but could I have a motion for that, please? Yeah, do I have a percent?
I would move to
Is that
amend
already
the
asked?
file title.
All right. I would like like to rescind the motion for item number 3.03, correction of the clerical error in resolution and job description. Could I have a motion to rescind?
I'll move to rescind.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Macklin, by Mr. Lippert, and second by Ms. Macklin. Could I have, any more discussion about it? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Lippert,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Mrs. Birch,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton.
Yes, motion passed 5-0. Now can I have a motion for item number 3.03? To approve the resolution and the job description for the facilitator of ELL programming. And we need to actually make a change for the title of exhibit S5. Could I have a motion, please?
I move to do what you just said.
Approve the resolution and job description.
Is that okay? What am I supposed to say? So, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the adjustment in the title of Exhibit S5, as well as to accept the newly created position.
I second.
It has been moved by Ms. Birch and second by Ms. Macklin. Any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call please, Mr. Ferguson.
Mrs. Birch,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mr. Lippert,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton.
Yes, motion passed 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Lincoln, for catching that for us. Item number 3.04, reduction in force of administrators. Could I have a motion, please, to approve the reduction in force and the abolishment of position as presented?
Excuse me, President, before we make a motion, can there be a question posed? For clarity. So this is those positions, this is including those positions that are no longer a part of the restructuring plan, correct? Okay, and these positions are the ones that we already approved are what replace those. So that's what this is, this exhibit S4 is for.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
It's been moved by Ms. Birch and second by Ms. Macklin. Do we have any more questions or any more discussion on this reduction in force? Hearing none, roll call, Mr. Ferguson.
Mrs. Birch,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Mr. Lippert,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton.
Yes, motion passed 5-0. Next item is item number 3.05, administrative personnel items.
Thank you. Yes, under 3.05, there is an amendment to, Mr. Humphrey's, contract. Originally, there was, a goal, we were trying to line things up to make sure everybody was August 1st to, July 31st, but there are various statutes that we have to follow depending upon the type of administrator, whether it's, a classified administrator or certificated administrator. So classified administrators, their contracts typically go from June to July. So we need to make that adjustment. So that is why Mr. Humphreys is back on there. In addition to that, we do have some resignations here, and those under Ms. Buford, Mr. Huff, Mary Catherine Ratkowski, Mr. Rivera, Carla Robinson. We have Mr. Terrell and Jatina. You'll see some of those names a little bit later because they have applied and are being recommended for different positions, so therefore they must resign for those positions first. With that being stated, I request for the approval of Mr. Julio Rivera, who is here tonight, to serve as the facilitator of ELL programming. He has been in our district, and prior to coming into his role of dean, he has talked to me a couple of years ago about his long-term passion of actually working with our ELL population. Though we have maybe less than, 1%, they have a huge impact on our overall achievement and what we need to do here as a district to move forward and really support and focus on all of our students that we're serving. Ms. Radkowski is an alumni of Bedford, currently serving in the role as principal of Carrollwood Intermediate School, has applied, was being recommended to serve as the coordinator of preschool in Title I programming. Ms. Buford, I know Ms. Winston is a little bit sad, but Ms. Winston is currently serving in the dean role at Central Primary School, has applied and is being recommended to serve as coordinator of elementary academic achievement initiatives. Mr. Huff is a little bit under the weather tonight, so he's not here, but he will be here at the June 2nd meeting. And he is currently the dean. He's been in our district for 4 years as a dean. Is being recommended to serve in the principal position at Columbus Intermediate. Ms. Carla Robinson, also is a little bit under the weather tonight, and she will be here at the June meeting. Is being recommended to serve as the CTE coordinator, as well as adult and alternative education programming. As you know, we are in a consortium with 5 other schools. A part of our strategic plan is that we, as a 5-district consortium, have made a concerted effort to be committed to this, and this move and this position is a part of that commitment in order for us to grow our CTE program. So those are the administrative positions that I recommend, as well as a resignation for you.
Alrighty. Wow, what a list. So I would need a motion for the amendment of the administrative contract and the tentative assignment for the terms of the Board of Education for the classified administrator. I would also need a motion for the following administrative personnel resignations. And a motion for the following administrative appointees. So board, if you would look under 3.05, you will see all of these names, and you will see the motion that is needed for all of these positions to move, so we can move forward with these recommendations. So I would need for you to please provide a motion and a second for the administrative personnel items.
I make a motion to amend the administrative contract and tentative assignment for the terms of the Board of Education for the classified administrative position of supervisor of technology. Also to approve personnel resignations going into the approval of previously provided administrative appointments from the superintendent.
I second.
It has been moved by Mr. Akins and second by Ms. Birch. Any questions, comments? I do have one. I do really, Dr. Johnson, I'm glad you're taking a look at the people that are within. I like that we can make movements within the school district. I think when people accept positions, they always look when they accept a position, they always looking at what can I do, because they want to move forward. So I like the promotion within. I'm sure that Dr. Johnson and her staff has looked at the individuals that are being recommended tonight, and I know you guys will do well. And I'm so glad that you have this opportunity to even move farther in the district. We like to keep you here, and we will do what we can to keep you with us. So, anybody else want to say anything before we move on?
I'm just gonna say I'm just grateful that each of you have stepped up to want to be in these new roles and clearly are applying an expertise that you value in. So I just wish you the greatest in it. Thank you for stepping up, and thank you, Dr. Johnson, for acknowledging the potential and the capacity of each of them to be able to approve their positioning.
Agreed. I would ask you, Superintendent Johnson, Dr. Johnson, is it the plan to replace all of these vacant positions with the same position?
Yes, that is the goal. I will tell you, when we started, this dean program started long before me coming here. Carla Robinson, I believe, started out as a dean. Mary Catherine Rakowski started out as a dean. The purpose of the dean program is to grow within. And so I think the board has done a great job to support our teachers. Many of these individuals, such as Mary Catherine, started out as a teacher after being a student in Bedford City Schools. And in order for us to obtain and retain highly qualified educators, that is the only way we're gonna do it, is to grow our own. So absolutely the goal is to continue that dean program. Also, we have something called the Bearcat Leadership Academy. We have many of our teachers in that program. We go through a year-long academy, and with a book study, and they have to gain Ashland credit at the very end. So we're already gearing up our teachers. You'll see more names, hopefully in June, and some of those will be some teacher leaders from right here. But if we can't, we try. But that is the goal, to fill these positions by the next board meeting, whether they be dean positions that they're filling, as well as the Carrollwood intermediate position. If we go without outside, they definitely have to be above and beyond. As we were able to get Ms. Sherry Buford from Lawrenceville, she's definitely above and beyond. So that would be our goal. Great question.
Any more questions? Any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Mr. Parkinson.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Mrs. Birch?
Yes.
Mr. Lifford?
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton?
Yes, motion passed 5-0.
Yes, it'd be great at this time before we go into the next, if you could say something also. I will mention another gentleman that's here before our administrators talk. You so graciously approved the hiring of Mr. Delvante Greer, who will be serving as a school counselor at Heskett Middle School next year, and he's all excited and ready to go. Just finished your master's program, I think at CSU, had already passed his assessments long time ago when we met. I've heard amazing things from his college professors at CSU, so I'm glad that you were able to join us tonight.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you all. Appreciate you for the opportunity, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
But yes, and at this time, Ms. Buford, Mary Catherine, or Julio, if there's anything you would like to say?
Should I go over here? Or should I
Up
just
to
stand?
you.
Okay, I'll go over here so people can hear me. Hi, everyone. I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. I have learned so much this year as a dean, working under Mrs. Winston. We have been a dynamic duo. I am going to miss her, but I won't be far away. And I'm looking forward to working with a team of people who are going to work really hard to increase the achievement in our district. So thank you.
I just want to thank everyone for this opportunity. It's a lot of mixed emotions right now for me, so I won't talk long, but I'm hoping that we can find a very good candidate to take over Carrollwood, but I'll be everywhere, so I'm looking forward to it.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank the board and Dr. Johnson. I still remember our conversation in your office about an opportunity like this, so I'm really excited to be working with all the schools and our EL population to make sure they're growing and making the necessary needs and meet their needs. So I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, I will say you have a lot of people coming trying to take our teachers. So we had to tell Lorraine to stay away from Julio, which was your hometown.
It was, yes.
So I appreciate your dedication to our Bearcat kids.
Thank you. And now we will move on to item number 3.06, the non-administrative personnel items. Dr. Johnson?
Yes, under 3.06, we do have some resignations. In addition to that, we have some hires. We have Mr. Wallace, Sonny coming to us. We are in need of some great special education teachers. So we have Mr. Wallace coming in. We also have here, I think Ms. Manningham Ford is with us tonight. She's been so helpful during this pandemic and has served as a long-term guest teacher. She didn't care where we sent her. If we was in a sped classroom, if she was at Carrollwood, if she was at Columbus, she stepped up to the plate and said, you know, where do you need me to go? And she has applied for a position at Carrollwood Intermediate School, so she's being recommended this evening. In addition to that, we already have Ms. Candy Joyner. She was under 1 year, as again, was classified employees. You'll see it's July to June, and so their contracts are like a year before they can get multiple year contracts. Ms. Wargo goes to say, I mean, that's just the value there. EMIS coordinator, her contract is coming before you this evening. And then I ask that you approve of a bus driver, which we are so needed. Our tutors, the daily rate for those individuals, we had a couple more that we needed to approve. They are with us this year and now have also committed to stay with us. So I want to thank you again as a board for providing us with the opportunity to have title tutors. I think our principals will tell you they were excited to see our data come back and the improvements that were made as a result of us being able to have consistency with our title tutors, pushing into classrooms, working in small groups to help our children during this most difficult time with the pandemic. In addition to that, we have our elementary summer school that we will be putting on again this summer, as well as a summer music program that we offer to our students as a result of loss of learning in the music program during the pandemic. In addition to that, you have some classified positions, paraprofessional, and elementary secretary, and a high school / middle school, high school secretary that we have there.
All right. Well, thank you. Another long list. And I just want to just say before we do anything with the list, this is the time of year where we see a lot of staff changes, people coming, people going. This is very, very normal in all school districts. So the month of March, April, and May, really months when you see a lot of movement. So I just wanted to share that with the public tonight. I do need a motion for all of the positions that was mentioned tonight, the resignations, the hiring of the certified personnel and the non-certified personnel, the summer school staff, the tutors, certified employees for the summer music lesson program, and for classified personnel. So anyone that want to take that motion, please, can I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the following resignations as they have been listed here, as well to approve the hiring of the listed certificated personnel, as well to approve the hiring of the non-certificated personnel that are listed, to also approve the personnel listed to serve as district tutors during the 2022-2023 school year, as they are listed, as well to approve the individuals listed to serve at the elementary summer school certificated employees program as is listed, as well to approve the personnel to serve in the summer music program, the instructors there, and to approve the individuals listed to serve in the elementary school, summer school classified employees for the 2021-2022 school year.
Can I have a second, please?
A second.
It had a has been moved by Mr. Lifford and has been seconded by Mrs. Macklin. Any questions, any discussion on the positions as they have been presented? Hearing none, roll call, Mr. Parkinson.
Mr. Lifford,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mrs. Birch,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton.
Yes, motion passed 5-0. Thank you, Board. Item number 3.07, textbook adoption. Did you want to speak on that, Dr. Johnson, or we can just?
Yeah, I think, I don't really have anything to say. I think, this was based on that presentation, that Ms. Willis provided, a couple weeks ago. I think in the fall, you probably see some more. I will be honest, looking at our math data, we have spent a lot of time focusing on literacy over the past couple of years, and we need to focus on math. And so you will be seeing, probably more, recommendations coming to you in the fall.
And I would like to thank Ms. Willis for answering our question. We had questions after the presentation about the textbook adoption, and she did provide that information for the board. So could I have a motion to approve the textbook adoption as presented, please?
I make a motion to approve the textbook recommendations for the 2022-2023 school year as presented.
Second.
Has been moved by Ms. Akins and second by Ms. Birch. Do we have any more questions or discussion about the textbooks that's being adopted tonight? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Mrs. Birch,
Yes.
Mr. Lifford,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton.
Yes, motion passed 5-0. 3.08, facilities utilization request.
Yes, I don't think I have much to say here. Crossland Space, they've reached out to us, through, Mr. Sanders to try to have some programming here, bring some, great recognition, to our area, through some youth fundraising programming. In addition to that, Mr. Webster, he's actually one of our College Now representatives, and on behalf of, I think a Loss in the Family, they're having a fundraiser for a scholarship, that will go towards one of our students, so they have put in a request to, have a race here, to raise the funds.
All right, thank you.
And they have submitted all the appropriate paperwork, insurance liability paperwork, put in the appropriate permits and so forth.
All right, could I have a motion to approve the utilization of the district's facility as presented by Dr. Johnson?
Make a motion to approve the request.
A second, please.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Birch and second by Mr. Lifford. Do we have any questions or discussion?
I just want to say I'm glad our alumni are coming back and promoting events and opportunities to give back to the community. So thank you to Mr. Sanders for that.
And I just have one question in case it may come up from our audience or from the public. Will they be providing security for these events?
Yes, that's a part of the fee, all that is wrapped up in there, the custodians, security, any of that.
I want to say I appreciate the positive publicity of the school district and the Bearcat Stadium with these two events.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Birch,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mr. Lifford,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton.
Yes, motion passed 5-0.
Just one thing is, Ms. Mayhem Ford is here. I didn't know if there was anything that, she's like, no, I don't.
I would just like to thank you all for this opportunity. I'm very excited.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome to Bedford.
Thank you, Ms. Ford.
Thank you.
welcome.
All right, next on our agenda is item 4, which is our treasury report. And Mr. Parkinson will, 4.01 is the 5-year forecast. We all heard the presentation. Would you like to say something?
Thank you, Mrs. Boynton. Board, There are no changes from the presentation that I gave a couple weeks ago, so the forecast and the assumptions that you see before you are exactly as presented 2 weeks ago. Happy to entertain any questions if anybody has any questions. The process is once this gets board approved, I file this with the state of Ohio, then they send me a certificate, but confirmation that forecast has been filed. We start working on the November forecast.
Thank you, Bill. Could we have a motion, please, to approve the 5-year forecast?
Motion to approve.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Has been moved by Ms. Birch and second by Mr. Lippert. Do we have any questions or do we need any further discussion on the forecast? Hearing none.
Mrs. Birch? Oh, I'm sorry. Mrs. Birch?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton?
Yes, motion passed 5-0. Well, that is the last thing on the agenda, except we are going into executive session. I would just like to say to the audience, we appreciate you coming out. We will go into executive session in a few minutes. You are welcome to stay, but we will not be voting on anything once we come out of executive session. But we do appreciate you coming out and supporting us, and as always, we look forward to you being here every time you show up face to face. And I want to say to the people that are online, listening to us live online, that we have heard you when you said that there were maybe some possible technology issues where you could not hear some of us, and sometimes you couldn't see us. We are working very closely with the technology department, which are very, very supportive. And so we're working on that, but of course, you know, we do have a disclaimer. If there's something going on with that, you know, we do understand. But we're doing our best as far as making sure that our presentations are clear and that you can view us without any problems. But of course, we would love to see all of you face to face as this audience is here tonight. So again, thank you for all your support, and we look forward to seeing you at our next meeting, which is always the first Thursday.
Yeah, it's June 2nd, and I was
June.
also gonna say, we also have commencement
Yes.
as well coming up that week, so I
I was gonna ask you, say, but
Yeah, can
one,
you
could
say
you
no,
do some
please?
announcement? No, you're fine. I want you to,
Oh
to
my-
all
oh
of
my
these
God, I didn't say
announce,
that.
yes, we won't have a meeting before that.
yeah, we're gonna have a
We
meeting
will not.
before that.
Yes.
I can't believe it, I'm just excited, cause you said Bearcat Stadium, I'm like, oh my God, we will be.
Yes.
One of the things that we learned through the pandemic is the amazing facilities that we have right here and the money that we're saving. I hate to tell CSU that by not loading up the buses and going down to CSU. So we will have commencement June 1st and a lot of excited graduates that are waiting, and I appreciate you as a board for being able to be there and be present. Thank you.
We will be adding something else, actually, to the board agenda, and that will be announcements, so we can just inform, or, you know, just, I'm sure everyone knows about the commencement exercises, that we will be mentioning anything that's upcoming before our next meeting. We also will be representing the Bedford City Schools in the Bedford Memorial Day Parade. Please come and join us and support and walk out there with us. Might be heard all the time, but I will be walking.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We can have the band. The bands will be there from the high school and from Heskett, and just think, a year or two ago, we weren't able to do that, and here we are, so, thank you.
And again, we appreciate all your support to this new board. So, can I say?
I was gonna say, and other than, we wouldn't be able to have, a commencement at the stadium without our classified staff. The amount of work that goes on behind the scenes, from all of our OPSI members, is absolutely amazing. So they will be working so hard, and that's from our security to our custodial staff, maintenance, and grounds, to our tech department. I mean, they are going to be working hard, our secretaries, making sure they're crossing T's and dotting I's with names and, you know, invitations. So I appreciate, John, your members and all that they are doing to make sure we have an amazing ceremony here at Bearcat Stadium.
I just wanna say, yes, commencement is so exciting, and since we do not have a meeting prior to that, just a special guest that will be present at commencement, leading and processing out. It will be amazing, and I think that is a wonderful. I think it's an amazing idea. And, you know, just to promote continuously the achievement, and the gaps that we have within our children, so.
We're all excited, so now everybody's gonna show up. We get space for everyone.
Come on out, so you can see what we're talking about, who our special guests are.
All right. 5.01, we're going into executive session, so could I please have a motion to go into executive session?
Motion to enter into executive session to discuss the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee, to also prepare for, conduct, or review negotiations or bargaining sessions with employees.
Can I have a second, please?
I second.
It has been moved by Ms. Birch and second by Ms. Macklin. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Birch,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Mr. Lifford,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton.
Yes, motion passed 5-0. Thank you, everyone. We will be going into executive session at 5:56 p.m. Thank you.